In this video, we're going to take the rotated elements, blended elements, and elements with multiple appearances that we created in previous videos, and we're going to take them and use them to create seamless patterns with the pattern editing mode in Illustrator CS6 or Creative Cloud. I already have the documents that I created in previous videos open, so I have a document with rotated elements, a document with blended elements, and a document with elements with multiple appearances. And what I need to do now is I'm going to go File, New, and I'm going to make a new document. If you're a student in my class who's going to turn this in, then this is the way that you're going to need to set it up. It needs to be a letter size page. You're going to need to have 2 artboards. And you can call this whatever you want. I'm going to call it Betsy Tuma Pattern Assignment Sample. And my students will be able to have access to this on Desire to Learn. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And that's going to give me a new document. I'm going to have 2 artboards. And I'm going to go ahead, for my students, if you would like to develop your patterns right inside this document, that's fine. Since I already have some elements in other documents, I'm just going to go copy and paste them. So I happen to really like this shape and this shape. Get a couple of these rotated shapes out of here. Grab those. We'll just use these 2. I'm going to go over here to this document and I'm going to paste those. And then I'm going to come to my blended elements dialog box and pick, let's see. We'll pick these 2, top 2 there also. Oh, and maybe this one. Copy those, we'll bring them back over to this document, paste them. And then last but not least, some elements with multiple styles. Copy those, paste those in here. There they are. And so these are what I'm going to work with to make my patterns. I'm going to go ahead and shut these other documents down just so that we're not fighting for, I'll copy these 2 too also because I like them. Just so I'm not fighting for memory. Sometimes the video recorder takes a little bit of computing power. And we'll get rid of this one. Go ahead and close that one as well. Paste those other objects in here. And we'll move them right down here. I'm going to select them to make sure that they're grouped, because we'll want to work with grouped elements. And then, so these are the pieces that I'm going to work with to create patterns. And I know one pattern I want to start with. I'm going to start with this element here. And I think that element is pretty cool, but I think it'd be really cool to have sort of a checkerboard pattern using this element in 2 different styles. So I'm going to go ahead and hold my Option key or my Alt key on a PC and make a duplicate of that shape. And then I'm going to get my Appearance panel, Window, Appearance. And I'm just going to change the colors of this. So I'm going to change my fill color here to the blue and my stroke color here to the green or a similar one. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to tweak this scribble just a little bit. This one's going horizontal. I would like this one to go vertical. So I'm just going to change the angle of the scribble to like maybe -100. And click OK. Notice that that's up and down now. And then I can just move my Appearance panel. We'll stick it over here in my tools. And I'm going to select the 2 of these I like to make sure they're aligned vertically. And I'm going to go to Object, Pattern, Make Pattern. Now, Make Pattern is where we all of a sudden get to start playing, really playing with Illustrator. The first thing that's going to happen is we're going to get a warning, and it's going to say that a new pattern has been added to the Swatches panel. And sure enough, if I look over here in my Swatches panel, I notice now there's this little new swatch. And any changes that I make while in pattern editing mode will be applied to that swatch right there when I exit. So I'm going to click OK. And now notice a couple things have happened. I can zoom out. Let's go ahead and zoom out to 100%. All my other elements have disappeared. Only the two elements that I had selected are available, and I should have a dialog box. Oh, it's right over here, hanging out over here. I have a new dialog box, and this is the Pattern Options dialog box. It's also called Pattern Editing Mode. And so I have the ability to name this pattern. I can call it Betsy's Scribbled Squares. And I have some options. So I can change the way that the pattern tiles. In this case, it's a grid, so it's just taken this pattern and moved it over and then moved it over. And it's just made rows and rows of that same grid. Just think about bathroom tile, one on top of another, one to the left, one to the right. Very basic. We also can use a brick pattern. In this case, the brick pattern is going to offset my pattern by a full half of the previous. So this is like bricks that are on a house. The brick can be by row or by column, and we have some ability to change the amount of offset. It can be by quarters, by 3/4, it can be 4/5, it can be any fraction between 1/4 and 4/5. The default is 1/2. The other thing I can do is change the size of my tile. So in this case, I can either move the tile with the art, which by default is what's selected. So if I move the tile or move the art, the tile moves with it. So if I take both of these pieces and I move the art way over here, that tile jumps as well. The other option, and I can size this tile, I can change the size of the tile. Let's change it to 2 inches. And so now that puts more spacing in my design because the blue line is the tile. So that's the brick or the square that is the entire pattern is based on. The other option I have, if I want to, is to size the tile to the artwork. And if I do that, what happens is I no longer have the option to set the height and width of my tile. And instead now I have the ability to add horizontal and vertical spacing. If I have this option set and I move my artwork, my tile size changes. So in this case, I have a little bit more space between the two elements of my design than I do the repeat. So perhaps I want to add a little bit of horizontal or vertical spacing. In this case, it would be vertical. So if I add just a hair bit, notice now I have a really nice grid pattern. And because I'm using the brick by column and the offset of 1/2, my design appears to have alternating rows of blocks. So I really like this, so I'm going to go ahead and click Done. And it's going to update the swatch over here. Let's see if we can make these a little larger so that you can see them a little better. Let's get rid of all these other things here really quick. Oh, it doesn't let me get rid of those two. Come on. Anyway, so I have larger tiles here. There are my two pieces, and now everything else is back, but my pattern appears to be gone. So one of the things that's my pattern's here in the swatches, but all of a sudden the thing I had on screen is completely gone. So one of the things that's really important to know about patterns in particular is that they save only with the document you're working in. So I'm going to make a rectangle on this other artboard, and I am going to fill it with the pattern I just made. And now I'm going to go ahead and save my document. And we'll put it right there. Please save your document, if you would, as a PDF. So the way you do that is when you click File Save, you're going to have Save as file type. You're going to choose PDF. Go ahead and click Save. The reason that you're going to save as a PDF, whatever the defaults are just fine, go ahead and click Save again, is that if you use text, and in this case, remember, we have this start and finish text, a PDF will embed the typeface inside the design as opposed to making me guess what you had, and it just makes things really ugly. So I'm going to choose this element next, and I'm going to choose Object, Pattern, Make, and it's going to give me that warning again. Notice here's my new pattern. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And I'm going to play with some other options. This time maybe I want to do a hexagon, hex by column or hex by row, either direction. When you think of hexagon, think of the shape of a bee's beehive, because this is that same shape. In this case, I'm going to size the tile to the art. I think I want to give it a little bit of spacing in both directions. I think I really like that. I'd like to add something to this design. I'm going to use the star tool. And in the middle here, I'm just going to add a star. And I think I'll make it yellow. So now I have a yellow star. Notice that shows up in all of my patterns. The thing about pattern editing mode is that I can edit these elements on the fly. I can come in here, I can change any of these tiles. Let's change a few of these to orange. Notice it reflects in all the repeats. Let's change a few of these. We'll take some of these right here. Get that one in. Oh, not the star. Well, that'll be okay. I'm going to go ahead and click Done. And that's going to update the pattern. So here we see that the swatch looks just right. That swatch shows that updated swatch. But when we go back to our artboard, we still have the old design. It's because pattern editing mode doesn't actually change the element that you start the pattern with. So I'm going to come back over to my second artboard, make another rectangle, and fill that rectangle with my second pattern. Save my document again. Command S or Control S will save your document. And let's play with this type. Now I'm going to go to Object, Pattern, Make, and I'm going to get the warning. There's the swatch again. And let's play with, this might be a really good design to brick by row. And automatically we seem to have lined up just right when we're on a half of the brick offset. So, but I really want this to line up like stripes between start and finish. So I'm going to work on the vertical offset a little bit. And we can zoom in to see what we see how it looks. And it seems that we have a little bit of overlap that maybe we don't want. So I can type this number in manually. Let's try 0675. See how that looks. It might be just a hair bit much. And there we are. We can, that's kind of a nice stripe. I think I like it. And I've clicked Done, so it's updated over here. And I did that accidentally. I wasn't really done. So what am I going to do? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to double click on the thumbnail in the swatches panel, and that will bring the pattern editing mode back up. So I want to choose the word finish down here going to use my white arrow tool. I'm going to choose the word finish, and I want to change the color of that. And let's see what happens. Well, what happens is that if I were working on the blend directly, I'm going to go ahead and save this. We'll save a copy of that. And then we're going to close this. We'll say we're done. And we're going to come over and look at the blend. So our blend over here, if we select the word finish and we change it to orange, the whole line of text changes. Now that didn't happen with our, we didn't get the same effect with this. And the reason for that is that in pattern editing mode, anything that is a blend is expanded for the purpose of developing the pattern. So that what that means by expanded is that means that all of the math that goes into the blend is extrapolated, and it turns all of these things into paths instead of an editable element. So I'm going to go ahead and click done, and here we've accidentally applied the swatch to our text. And so there's our blend again. Let's come back, we'll zoom all the way out so we have both artboards. I'm going to draw the rectangle and apply our pattern. And let's do one more. In this case I have another blend, and I think that what I want to do with this one is I want to duplicate that element. So I'm going to just copy it and paste it, give myself another one. And notice this blend has a fill, which we didn't see before, but now that we're hanging out over here we see that there's a fill. We'll get rid of that fill. And I want to rotate this 90 degrees or 180 degrees because I think I want to make a fun kind of little zigzag with these elements. And I'm going to zoom in so I can see them a little better. But I think I want to rotate the colors between the two. So set those up in a way that I like. I'm going to select this one again, get my appearance panel, and this is so easy. I just love it. I'm going to take this outset path and I'm just going to drag it down to this stroke. And notice my colors have changed. We'll move the orange above the green so that we keep that box on the outside. Then I'm going to select these two elements and go Object, Path, or Pattern, Make. And we are going to, there's our warning, okay. And let's look at what we can do with this one. Maybe we still want a grid, but let's size our tile to the art and let's bring it in a little bit, and let's bring this down a little bit. We still maybe need to bring it in a little bit. What I'm looking to do is match these two corners up. Let's see what it takes to do that. A little bit more. Oh, see, then we get that fill and it's getting kind of ugly. So what if we use an offset here instead of a grid? Let's do a brick by row, and there, that offset is helping us out. So now I'm going to change our horizontal spacing slightly. I'm just using the up and down arrows to position this. Get our vertical spacing in there right. A lot of times pattern design, honestly, is trial and error and playing with it until you find a setting that you're really happy with. So there, that's kind of cool. And one of the things I want to point out with this is that the overlap will change the way your design looks. So your overlap has to do with Is the top panel coming down over the bottom panel, or is the left panel coming over the right panel? I encourage you to play with that until you find what you're looking for. And I still want to tweak this just a hair bit. My horizontal spacing needs to come down just a skosh. Oh, that was too much. Let's go 6, 0. See how that is. Like I said, this is really a process of trial and error to get it just where you want it. 7.1, 7.2, and maybe I just want to bring this down another little bit. There we go. Now we have this kind of cool lined up design. And like I said, we can play with the way the overlap happens. I happen to like the this overlap setting. And so now I'm going to go ahead and click Done. And then I'm going to zoom out so we can see all of our artboards. There's our new pattern. And we'll draw another box here and add that pattern to our box. And that is all there is to designing patterns in pattern editing mode. Now remember, your patterns save with the document. So if you want to use this pattern in another document, you'll need to open this up, copy and paste it, an element with it to the other document. And that is all there is to it. So you'll save this document as a PDF, turn it in. If you have any questions, send me an email. Otherwise, I'll see you in class.